Hey, what's up guys, it's TechZoomer talking to you here, and in today's video I want to cover more of WWDC and I will talk about the M2 MacBook Air 15-inch and the new M2 Ultra Mac Studio and Mac Pro. And of course, in the last week I've been reviewing iOS 17 first beta on my iPhone 13 Pro Max, so later on this week I will make a video about the new changes, what's new, what can you expect about iOS 17, which devices are supported, and is it worth it to upgrade for the beta or not? So if you are excited for that video, don't forget to drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel. This video will take tons of work, but I know it will be worth it. So don't miss it, subscribe to my channel. Let's get started. So the 15-inch MacBook Air, the M2 Ultra Mac Studio and Mac Pro have came out. And what's new about these three new Macs? Well, not that much. Apart from the M2 MacBook Air, which in my opinion is probably the best deal all of them all, I think those other two are pretty boring. The M2 Ultra Mac Studio and Mac Pro are not the most exciting computers. But let's first focus on the 15-inch MacBook Air because I think that's the most appealing computer for the masses. Apple started the Mac keynote of WWDC by saying that the M2 MacBook Air 13-inch was the best-selling laptop in 2023. And well, that's a weird stat because the M2 MacBook Pro 13-inch, I reviewed it last year and I thought it was not the best deal for you to buy. But I guess no one listened to me and everyone bought the M2 MacBook Air 13-inch. As I told you, I reviewed that computer for about 2 weeks and I thought that it was close enough for the M1 MacBook Air that you could save $200 and buy the M1 MacBook Air. Now, the M2 MacBook Air 13-inch has actually lowered in price for $1099, and I do believe in the next 2 years it will go down to $999 when Apple finally kills its M1 MacBook Air. So I think now if you are looking for a lightweight portable computer, finally it's worth it to go for the M2 MacBook Air 13-inch. That computer now is a way better deal. The differences between that computer and the M1, it's about $100 now, and it justifies that much just to get the M2. You get a better design, you get MagSafe, so it liberates one USB-C port, you get the new bezel-less design on the display. Other than that, you get the M2 chip, which is a little bit faster, a little bit better. You don't get that much. But for the 15-inch MacBook Air, I was expecting Apple to drop the ball and drop a computer at $1,600, $1,500. I made videos covering the leaks saying that I thought that that computer would start at that price and it wouldn't be that compelling. But I was wrong. I admit, guys, I was wrong. And Apple launched this computer at $1,299, so about $1,300, which is $200 more expensive than the 13-inch MacBook Air. I think this is a huge deal because this 15-inch MacBook Air, in my opinion, will start to be the best-selling Apple MacBook ever. Apple has told us that the M2 MacBook Air 13-inch was the best-selling Apple MacBook in 2022/2023. I'm not sure which time frame did they choose, but I think they were covering last year. So now let's analyze and see why I think the 15-inch MacBook Air is, in my opinion, going to be the best-selling laptop in 2023/2024. Because if you don't know, the 15-inch MacBook Air is not more than picking up the 13-inch on Photoshop, hitting up the scale button and zooming it until it's a little bit bigger. Yes, this computer weighs 3.3 pounds, gets 11 millimeters thin, and listen to this, it has a 15-inch screen, the same screen as a 13-inch MacBook Air with the M2. Actually, this computer has the same ports /I/O, the same keyboard, the same trackpad, the same speaker system, but more speakers. It has the same display, the same 60 Hz technology, the same LCD P3 color gamut technology. There's nothing different from this machine to the 13-inch unless the size. But with size, there are some perks. Along with this 15-inch screen, you get more speakers, a 6-speaker array system, and you get better battery. Because you get bigger batteries, you will not probably get better battery life. No, it's still ranked at 18 hours, but when video editing, the M2 will sip more power, but with bigger batteries. In the end, I do believe, I need to test this out, but I do believe when video editing with very high intensive tasks, the M2 15-inch will perform better and for longer, because it has a bigger case to dissipate heat, and it has a bigger battery, so I think it will last longer than the 13-inch. But I think that 15-inch, in sum, it's good because it has a bigger screen. And nowadays, people are looking for bigger screen laptops. I can tell you a story about my mom was looking to buy a Windows laptop. I know, I tried to give her the 13-inch MacBook Air. She didn't want it. She doesn't like macOS. She prefers Windows. She's wrong. But okay, what can I do? So she decided to buy a Windows laptop and actually reviewed the laptop that she bought. It was the LG Gram. So I decided to buy the laptop, the 15-inch version, because she went into the store and she had very different versions. The 14-inch, the 15-inch, and the 16-inch. And she was looking at these computers and she thought, well, the 14-inch is too small. I don't want that. Even the 13-inch, too small. I cannot get used to that. I want a 15-inch or more computer. The 16-inch or the 17-inch, they were too big. She thought that those computers were like too bulky. But the 15-inch was that perfect size. Bigger enough, but not that big. So it turned out not portable. Because, as tons of people already explained on YouTube, portability for laptops is not how thin or how thick they are. No, in my opinion, you can measure portability for a laptop as how wide they are, because they will not or they will fit in backpacks because of that measure. So if you have a very long computer, it will not fit on a vertical space on your backpack. And you have a very wide computer and not that long, it will not, again, fit in your backpack because it won't fit on, instead of on the height, on the shape of the backpack. So yeah, I think that the 15-inch is the perfect size. And the 15-inch MacBook Air has the perfect things from the M2 13-inch MacBook Air, but with a bigger screen. And with that, I think it's different enough from the other MacBooks that Apple sells that it will excel in sales. $1,300 for a computer that has a 15-inch screen, 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, 1 MagSafe port, 1 headphone jack, the best keyboard in the business, the best trackpad in the business, an amazing 60Hz LCD screen that everyone that looks at it thinks is incredible because of Retina technology. It has these very, very small bezels, it has the notch with a 1080p webcam, industry leading in my opinion, and I think it gets Apple Silicon, which is the best thing right now that goes for MacBooks and the Mac lineup. Apple Silicon is so efficient but so fast that I think that 99.9999% of people that buy this M2 MacBook Air won't even touch the ceiling of performance that this computer is capable of. So I think that this computer will be perfect for everyone. It's the perfect size, it has the perfect chip, it has the perfect battery life, it has a huge screen. For the weight and thickness, this computer weighs 3.3 pounds, it is 11 millimeters thick, so it's thin, extremely thin. Imagine the M2 MacBook Air just like stretched out to the side. It's not thicker than the M2 MacBook Air, it's just longer. So, oh my god, I'm so excited. I'm curious to know if this computer is susceptible to actually bending, because it's so thin and so long that it may be susceptible to bending. But I think Apple has thought of that, and no one will try to bend their MacBooks because they will bend. So, if you want a comparison between the M2 MacBook Air 15-inch and the 16-inch MacBook Pro that I have with the M1 Max or the M2 Max, whatever, if you want that between the Pro and the non-Pro, the 15-inch against the 16-inch, leave it on the comment below and leave a like so I know you want it. So, let's now talk about the other Macs that came out, the M2 Ultra Max, or like I like to call it, the Pro Desktop Max, the Mac Studio and the Mac Pro. And before I talk about these two, you gotta understand, these two computers are actually the same computer in different cases. The Mac Studio gets two options, the M2 Max and the M2 Ultra. The M2 Max, in my opinion, is the best value one. $2,000 for 512 gigabytes of storage, 32 gigabytes of RAM. It's the best deal. I'm sure that this computer is the best deal. But the M2 Ultra version is a little bit more expensive, starts at $399. $399 for a computer that has the M2 Ultra. It has 64 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabytes of storage. All of this is base model. So for $4,000, you still get a ton of RAM and storage. So I think this is the perfect high-end Apple Mac. But there's another one on the list, the Mac Pro. And why would Apple sell the Mac Pro starting at $7,000 with the same M2 Ultra non-bent, while the M2 Ultra on the base model Mac Studio is bent? You will have to spend $1,000 more for the non-bent version, but still, it's pretty expensive. It only starts at $4,000, while the Mac Pro starts at $7,000. Where like it's the $3,000 of difference? Where you have the same chip, the same storage. But I want to point out that on the clip before, I said that the Mac Pro has a non-bent M2 Ultra, but that's not true. It starts at $7,000 as you saw, but with the bent M2 Ultra GPU, not the CPU. But you still have the same RAM, the same chip, you just have more ports, more I/O, you don't have the SD card slot, so why would you buy a Mac Pro? I don't see why. Okay, I see why, but I don't understand why. So you have PCIe 4th Gen slots on the Mac Pro. So you can add external expansion cards. So if you are a musician, a video editor, photo editor, you need those expansion cards that actually speed up your workflow because your main programs or apps use those external accelerators. You see how niche this is? I cannot explain you how niche this is. I don't see why Apple released a $7,000 computer for people that actually don't need it. Because nowadays they use the Mac Studio, which uses Thunderbolt, and Thunderbolt on Mac Studio is able to do these things that the PCIe slots do on the Mac Pro. So I think that the Mac Pro is a market, but it's a very, very small market. Do I think that like prime YouTubers, MKBHD and other big ones will buy the Mac Pro instead of the Mac Studio because of the ports? No, I don't think so. I think they will keep up using the new M2 Ultra Mac Studio. And I would either. If you ask me which computer would I recommend, even without using it, you will save $3,000 just going for the Mac Studio instead of the Mac Pro. Okay, you spend $200 more to get 1 terabyte instead of the 512. Big deal. So yes, if you have to ask me between these two computers, which one is the best, the Mac Studio is surely the best option. It's way smaller, way tighter, way lighter, and way easier to put on your desk. While the Mac Pro is huge, but it's completely empty on the inside. So it doesn't make any sense to have this huge footprint of a computer that doesn't need it. It's wasted space. While the Mac Studio is truly, in my opinion, the best Mac on the lineup. So let me know in the comments below what you think. As for specifying on the Mac Pro, you can start this computer at $7,000. And with $7,000 you get the M2 Ultra, non-bent, and 1 terabyte of storage, and you get 64 gigabytes of RAM as standard. You can go up to 192 gigabytes of RAM, the same as the Mac Studio. All of these together with the 8 terabytes of storage, the M2 Ultra completely full maxed out with 192 gigabytes of RAM, you will be paying $12,000. While with the Mac Studio, you can go up to $9,000 with the 8 terabytes of storage, 192 gigabytes of RAM, and of course, the M2 Ultra non-bent version. So the differences between the Mac Studio and the Mac Pro will always be $3,000. Like you have to choose and configure the two computers, but if you make the same configuration on the two computers, the differences will always be $3,000. Doesn't matter which configuration it is, the difference will be the same. And those $3,000 will always be for the 7 Thunderbolt 4 ports plus 1 USB-C port on the Mac Pro, and on the case of the Mac Studio, you will lose on the SD card slot because that computer has one while the Mac Pro doesn't. The Mac Studio now gets HDMI 2.1 while the Mac Pro, I'm not sure. You have PCIe 4 gens if you want to add hard drives, or if you want to add expansion slots like new adapters for USB-C, if you want to add more USB-C ports, HDMI ports, you can do whatever you want with the Mac Pro. And maybe that's the advantage of buying the Mac Pro. But I don't think it's $3,000 worth. But let me know in the comments below what you think. This is a very weird lineup. The Mac Studio, the Mac Pro. I think that the Mac Studio has now proven itself to be the best Mac and has actually killed the need for the Mac Pro. I think the Mac Pro now is a very, very niche market, at least on its state. If Apple decides to improve on it, like build a modular Mac Pro with the ability to buy more M2 Ultras or more M3 Ultras, and or at least replace the M2 Ultra with the M3 Ultra or newer chips, make it modular, then makes sense, and the $3,000 are actually worth it. But as it states, I don't think it's worth it, and I don't see the need to buy one. I don't see why would you buy one, and I don't see why would you waste $3,000 when you could buy the Mac Studio, much smaller, much easier to fit on your desk and set up, and equally as powerful. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about these 3 new Macs. My favorite one is the 15-inch MacBook Air. Let me know in the comments down below which one is your favorite. So while you're there, don't forget to drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel, don't miss my iOS 17 video coming later this week on the weekend about what's new, what's coming, and when you will get it. So this has been Texmer talking to you here. Bye bye.